Over the next 30 minutes, we'll dissect the upcoming changes expected with the UK Procurement Act 2025 going live on the 24th of February. This is set to make major changes to the bidding landscape. We'll also cover some recommendations on how SMEs can take advantage of this opportunity. Plus, our team is on hand to answer any questions you may have along the way. Before we dive in, let's start with some intros. My name is Candice. I'm a product lead here at AutogenAI, and joining me today is Alex Cooper, an SME lead here at AutogenAI. Hello, Alex.
Hi, thanks, Canis. I'm Alex. I work with our SME clients to understand their needs and help them improve the quality and productivity of their bid writing and the bid processes through utilizing our software.
Let's start with the big picture. Today, we'll talk about how the market is opening up for SMEs in government procurement and how AutogenAI can help you to maximize the opportunities this brings. We now have a Labour government that has made it clear their opportunity and also priority is to support SMEs and VCSEs, not for profits, focusing on localization, leveling up, and creating opportunities for small businesses to thrive. Alex, could you please walk us through what that means?
Yeah, so this shift is crucial because currently only 1 in 10 government procurements are marked as suitable for SMEs, and only 10% of those are actually won by SMEs, meaning that just one in every £100 spent by the government goes to SMEs. So Labour's goal is that they say this has to change. And one of the major tools that is being used to create the change is the Procurement Act, which comes into force next week. So the aim of the Labour government here is to increase SME participation in government contracting by removing barriers and increasing opportunities with the goal for more flexibility, greater transparency, and greater oversight. It aims to simplify the bidding process at its core, making it easier to bid and work with the public sector. So there are now two procedures, retaining the open procedures for basic tenders and then the new competitive flexible procedure, which gives authorities flexibility to design processes in line with their procurement needs. The Act has emphasised that contracting authorities need to encourage SME engagement. So that's either through those new competitive flexible procedures or by breaking larger contracts into smaller lots. I'd also add there are also new measures to for prompt payment throughout the supply chain, so enabling SMEs to benefit from 30-day payment terms on a range of public sector contracts, again, further supporting SME engagement. In terms of transparency, one of the biggest changes is the introduction of the Central Digital Platform, or the CDP, which is essentially an enhanced version of the Finder Tender service, acting as a platform to store your core business details that you can use for multiple bids to reduce time spent on that data entry that we're familiar with sort of PQQ process. But it's also there to improve visibility of opportunities. So expected to make it simpler for SMEs to participate in that process because you've got transparency on procurement opportunities, past bid winners, any supply chain details. And this platform forms part of the Crown Commercial Service's broader SME action plan, which is to achieve better value for money and support SMEs through procurement. So those new notice types and earlier supplier engagements through pipeline notices are expected to help suppliers and SMEs have more visibility of upcoming procurement. And there's also due to be more transparency in the requirement for public bodies to provide feedback for suppliers, which again is really useful for us as responding so we can know how we can improve the next time that we are completing our responses. The other area in terms of governance is the introduction of the new Procurement Review Unit, or the PRU, which aims to improve the capability and practices of contracting authorities by ensuring compliance with the new procurement rules. So this is essentially to help prevent work from going to suppliers who are unfit to deliver the requirements and might pose a risk. Another, key change within that is with the supplier exclusion and debarment list, which will now mean applying across the public sector, including SME supply chain. SMEs must conduct due diligence to ensure that they and their subcontractors comply with the new regulations. but failure to do so could result in disqualification from bidding. So again, emphasizing the importance of due diligence in our supply chains. But crucially, and what we've sort of thought of with this webinar is opportunity alone isn't enough. There's going to be more government contracts, and SMEs need to be equipped to capitalize on them and win them. And this means not only having the right content there in your libraries, but also the right strategy and the right tools to make the most of this potential with the influx of bids that will be coming out.
Thank you so much for walking us through the changes. So, how can SMEs ensure that they are in the best position to take advantages of all these changes?
Yeah, so we've sort of highlighted some key opportunities for SMEs and VCSEs. Um, the changes favor SMEs by reducing barriers like audited accounts and improving payment terms. Um, the CDP, as you just mentioned, gives easier access to opportunities. There's also that shift from most economically advantageous tender to most advantageous tender, different procurement pipelines and government support and grants as well as that splitting up of larger contracts. But some of the key actions I think is with the CDP. You should register on the CDP when you're looking to win more government contracts, is where all high value contracts will be published. You could set up alerts for pipeline notices for when future procurements are expected, and also tender notices. So you can stay on top of new opportunities as soon as they arrive, but also plan and strategize for those that are upcoming. Within the CDP, we mentioned around a supplier profile. So we can use the supplier information service to pre-fill core business details to again streamline that sort of data entry process of the bidding process. With that change as well, from most advantageous tender, so sorry, to most advantageous tender, price will still be important, but social value and sustainability could now be argued to carry more weight in bid evaluations, which provides opportunities for SMEs that provide social value to stand out by highlighting their contributions to local employment and sustainability, innovation. So that's another encouragement. The more that you can demonstrate a tangible interest in terms of social value, the stronger your position will be in tendering, either on your own or through work with prime contractors. So that's one of the other points in terms of large contractors that are now going to be seeking more SME or VCSE participation. So either through that direct bidding, where you can compete for contracts on your own, or the indirect spend, where those primes are required to include SMEs in supply chain, which has been emphasized in the new Procurement Act. The key is positioning. So use some of those early market engagement events to find out who is bidding as a prime, or make contact with them directly, or ask the government department that's running the procurement to help connect you. They sometimes run the Meet the Primes events during the preparatory stages. So positioning with primes that you think are going to win can help increase the opportunity for you to capitalize on the breaking up of those lots, those larger contracts into smaller lots. But with the new act coming in, the opportunity for SMEs is huge, but this will also come with potential for decision paralysis in terms of how many new opportunities coming, capacity restraints that we're all familiar with. Well, SMEs are either going to need a way to respond to more tenders or to qualify out opportunities harder to be really focused on the opportunities you're going to go for, or risk, missing out on the available opportunity that is brought by the Procurement Act changes. And one of the ways is to do so is through embracing technology. The government is making procurement more accessible, but SMEs that don't use that technology could suffer in terms of falling behind in that process. And that's one of the reasons we built AutogenAI. It's designed to help SMEs write winning bids efficiently. It's built for accessibility and its ease of use, but also in terms of pricing to be accessible.
Alex, I'm completely with you on the point about adoption of technology. The easier you can make to write bids, the more opportunities you can maximize. It would be great to hear what sort of actions any of the audience might have taken to prepare yourselves for the procurement changes. Feel free to drop them in the chat box.
yeah, it'd be great to hear some different opinions on what other people have done in preparation for the changes. So we'll leave a minute for um, any tips in that space.
Alex, is there anything else that you thought that could be a small tip for the audience here?
Um, yeah, so we referenced it a little bit earlier, but in terms of not just strategy, but getting your content ready as well. So content library, previous bids, case studies, annual reports, any of that information. Um, I'm sure we've all been aware of having stuff sort of lost in a SharePoint somewhere. So having that structured or clear to use or updated is a great way to be prepared for that influx in potential opportunities that will be coming with the changes.
Yeah, that sounds like a really reasonable tip. And this is something that we have been actively doing to improve how knowledge management can be done better with AutoGen AI. In
Yeah.
AutoGen AI, we work with experienced bid writers, especially time poor and resource-strapped SMEs to bring our product to life. We like to say that AI is not here to replace your job, but someone actually using AI might.
Yeah. I think that's part of it. We create language engines for our clients to help them improve the productivity and quality in which they respond to bids. Um, so we're not here just to create a magic wand, and it's not just a platform. We're here to provide support for SME clients who are scaling up their bidding um, attempts and efforts. And we help with the adoption and deployment of our technology as opposed to left to your own devices. And we're giving that platform for you to make the most of um, the solution available to us and to capitalize on the opportunity there. So we can help in a number of ways, like sort of streamlining the bid or no bid process, extracting information and requirements to help you qualify out the opportunities, which I sort of mentioned a little bit earlier, with the expected uptick in opportunities presented by the Procurement Act. We qualify out harder and be very um, sort of precise in what we're going for. We can use something like AutoGen or as a way of reducing the amount of time that we spend on that hard qualification. But we can also help with streamlining those security questionnaire responses and compliancy questionnaires and technical questionnaires. Although supply information is now going to be held in the CDP in terms of standardized, name of company, revenue, standardized information, there will be information that won't be held within the CDP, which can be held within sort of like an answer bank. So we can autofill answers to reduce that manual data entry. But what we're all familiar with AI is the ability for content generation, which is where we can help you get to a compliant first draft in a fraction of the time that we would in a slightly more manual process. So again, to Candice's point earlier around the human in the loop, we want to encourage more time to be spent as the human reviewing, tweaking and finessing and redrafting, as opposed to going into your SharePoint or going into wherever documents may lie and building together a first answer slightly more manually. And then sort of coming towards the other end of things, our review tool is also there to help you appraise your output and receive feedback and then implement this feedback. So again, ensuring that you're not going to lose on compliance. From our research, SMEs are more likely to lose on compliance than most larger companies due to sort of time and resource constraints. So this review tool again is going to help address that issue by making sure you are compliant.
Thank you for walking us through the key features that are essential for our SMEs, Alex. I also want to add that most of our SME clients don't just use AutoGen AI for bids. They use it for marketing resources, policy documents, operating manuals, social reports, annual reports, and any other essential communications. We understand that people often need to wear multiple hats. Although we are a bid writing tool for bid writers, in our heart, we are actually a business writing tool. You can use the tool for any type of writing that you need to do to grow your business. Anytime you need to write anything, whether for procurement or for business needs, AutogenAI can support you.
Yeah, exactly that, Canis. The work I've done with our SME clients in the last 2 years has been definitely around that piece of people wearing different hats, switching from being a subject matter expert to being director and different angles of writing and different needs for it. So certainly, although the solution's designed for that bit of proposal angle, like you said, creating blogs for websites, executive summaries, or thought leadership pieces, it also fits in very well in that content generation angle. But our effectiveness is measured by client data. So we help SMEs in a range of different industries, and I've worked with a range of SMEs, improving their win rates by up to 30%, while also reducing the drafting time. Around a third of our clients are government organizations and non-profits. So our platform was built in line with sort of government procurement processes, and we built our platform with SMEs in mind at a price point that makes it accessible. So a large part of the success of the value behind the solution and the capability of it isn't just from the platform that we've created, which is obviously very, very intuitive and easy to use, but it's more so around the training and onboarding our team carry out with our clients and the available support to SMEs. It's there for yeah, it's there to help our SMEs with that personal touch with our customer success managers and our onboarding specialists. Sorry, I've just seen a question in the chat around pricing for the solution for SMEs. Um, we can talk around pricing. We do offer like sort of deeper dive demonstrations in which we can discuss pricing separately. There should be a link for us to take inbound requests to deal with any pricing situation, but we can discuss that separately when exploring a demonstration. Happily email myself or Canis, and we can follow up with that.
Yes, I love that you touched on our support and our brilliant customer success team that is able to supply not only the solution training, but also bidding support as well.
Yeah.
In summary, what are the key actions that SMEs should take on?
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to, I think one of the key areas of the changes is that CDP for SMEs, setting up alerts and completing your supplier profile will be really important to getting ready for the changes that come in. We can also explore government funding and support programs to again help strengthen your bidding efforts. You can find them through the government websites. Um, Linking back to the reiteration of the Procurement Act around um, large contractors breaking up their contracts into lots, they're going to be looking for more SME partners. So leaning into those existing relationships you have with the primes, or going through and building the relationships with other primes or large contractors that are looking for partners. And fourthly, adopting tools to help streamline your bid strategy, to help secure that available and opportunity that will be coming with the changes in the Procurement Act. So I'd say those are some key takeaways there. Um, if there's ever a time for SMEs to secure government business, it's now. Labour's goals to spend more money with SMEs will not be realised if SMEs fall behind on tech that is going to make it a little bit easier for them to compete. We think back to that notion around decision paralysis, or there'll be an influx, and there can often be the sort of where do we start when we get an influx in bids, especially when you might already be at capacity in terms of the response. So, as we mentioned earlier, I think Candice, we touched on it a little bit earlier around the takeaways of getting your documents set up as well, CVs, case studies, previous responses, annual reports, any company collateral that you're going to be regularly using, getting that organized. So then when you do come to writing. You're going to have a better idea of where that might be located within your libraries, and fishing out the relevant information that's going to help you with future responses. I'd also suggest to read our article on the Procurement Act delay by Tricia Blatherwick. She has over 25 years in bid management and bid writing. And Tricia also represents SMEs in her position on the main board of Tech UK. Um, I believe this is going to be linked in the chat, that particular article, but we also have a number of different articles on our website regarding the new Procurement Act, which can also make some really useful independent readings. In addition to, a number of other SME-centered articles we have on our website. Um, and in relation to that previous point as well, feel free to reach out to any of us or go through our website to have that sort of deeper dive into Autogen and how that can facilitate your growth by making the most of that opportunity of the changes in the Procurement Act, that I touch on as a starting point. But yeah, it's those sort of five or six key takeaways. But certainly getting prepped on the new CDP, I think, is one of the most crucial ones. And for SMEs that are looking to scale up, exploring those government funding and support programs as well as a really useful way. But that's most of what we're covering. And just wanted to open the floor up for any questions for this last period of time that might have arisen throughout this session. And feel free to drop them in the chat and we can pick them up. So, okay. Yeah, so David, the CDP should be available on the 24th of February. It's really just a an extension of the existing find a tender service. I think you will need to re-register for that. And in terms of manually organizing the content library, if that's referring to on AutoGen, then no, it's something that will be supported by our onboarding team. So it'd be a simple sort of file or folder upload to AutoGen. We also have like integrations to SharePoint. I think we have upcoming integration with Google Drive. So it could just be an ability for you to select the content that you want to be referencing when you're writing to pull across to AutoGen. And then you can let the engine do the heavy lifting of going through those messy documents and pulling out sort of useful information. So you don't have as much dependence on having a really well organized, library, which can just happen, by nature of bidding. You can often get waylaid in where things might lie, when we're at capacity. So in terms of Autogen, no, you don't need to manually organize the content. Obviously, things are always a bit nicer when they're a bit tidier and a bit more structured, but the AI itself will find sort of semantically relevant content when you are generating new responses and answering new questions. But we've referenced exactly what you've written before. We're not just here to create like generic responses. It's giving you responses that will be bespoke to what you've done before, but also potentially drawing in information from external internet sources as well.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Alex has said, it is something that we have really prioritized in our product roadmap, which is making sure that people can use AutoGen to do knowledge management. A number of our clients actually say that it has made it so much easier to communicate across their company. Like no matter the size, like often you find silos, But then what it means is that now if you are able to put your library, even if it's not very organized, it's possible to search for content, can use AI to leverage the right content and pinpoint
Yeah.
the content in order to generate writing, or even sometimes just ask the AI to let you know like where that piece of content is. So this is something that we are getting a lot of interesting feedback from
Yeah.
clients, and we're really keen to serve SMEs as well.
Yeah. Hi, Sam. So on that point, by drawing from your own internal libraries, that ensures that the AI is not hallucinating. We're using a technique of retrieval augmented generation. So the large language models will read through everything you've written before and generate content that is based upon the source being your existing company content. Um, we also do draw information from live internet resources as well. In that case, in the same way that you might, have a little reviewing of that as well. We always give a traceable link back to the source of the content in your own library, but also on the internet as well. So if you want to validate that that internet source is trustworthy, there's always going to be a link where you're drawing that content from. And even within our solution, there's a ability to search like individual sentences. So you can highlight, where's that drawn that information from? Is that made up or whatever it might be? If you have that concern and it can flag which document in your library it's drawn that from or where it might have drawn it from on the internet. I don't know if you got anything to add to that, Canis.
Yeah, like you are completely right about this, and it is something that we treat we treat being able to evidence content extremely seriously, and because we know that AI is prone to hallucination, and that's why a lot of our work goes into making sure that we can do evidencing really easily and also do claim checking and being able to see exactly down to the sentence level of where that piece of content comes from is something that is weaved through the product.
Yeah. There's even areas like there will be scenarios where we will use creative writing. So we think back to Canis's earlier point about how we can use Autogen to help create blogs or executive summaries and write things a little bit more creatively. But when we're generating content, say like case studies or statistics where you want it to be a fact or a figure, that they will always only use like, traceable sources for that type of writing when you just want factual content as opposed to something that will be a slightly more creative lens to it, so to speak. No worries, Sam.
Great question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very important within evidencing. As Canis mentioned, avoiding that hallucination piece or where large language models can make something that seems like it's plausible, but yourself as an expert or a writer in the industry will know that maybe that doesn't sound like something that I would have written. So having that paper trail we can follow back in terms of sourcing is really, really powerful. And that's also when we think back to the mentioning of the um, review process we have as well, Sam. So that means that we can review your answers to see when there's not enough evidence, let's say, um, in that sort of claim checker style. So we can get feedback to improve upon it and say, okay, these sentences don't have any case studies to support them. Here's where you might want to bring in a case study or a statistic to, again, add more detail to that point. Uh, not sure if there are any other questions that are coming through. Feel free to drop any further questions that you're holding your tongue on, so to speak. But also equally, if there's any follow-up questions, we should have mine and Canis's and whoever's details you can reach out to following this as well. So feel free to do that.